Well, still staying on that, after that event, I had a sit-down chat with Ms. Basu to find out more of her thoughts, apart from saying that Nigerians hold their own solution. Sometimes Africa believes the Western world has the solution to all of their problems. But according to her, the U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary for African Affairs, it's not just like that. Africa and Nigerians can actually solve their problems. All they need is a little help. Coming from there. Enjoy that in this sit down that I had with Ms. Basu.
You know, the first thing that always strikes me is just the vibrancy and the energy and the hard work that goes in, right? It is such a creative place. It is such a hardworking place. And you talked about the raw talents. I truly believe that. I believe Africa's greatest resource is its people and those people's minds and those people's skills. Nigeria's greatest resource are Nigeria's people. And we want to be a partner in developing that towards a shared prosperity, right? We need to develop solutions faster for these communities at greater scale. We need to develop jobs. So two other observations. One is the vibrancy and the energy and the hustle. Two is the sense that the economy is going through a big shift, but a necessary one. And, obviously those changes have been very recent and they're very much at the forefront of the conversations, whether we're having those with, big American companies investing in Nigeria or Nigerian startups that are trying to wrestle those. And I would have to admit, right, that this is a tough moment in our economy, and I would be remiss if I didn't say that we see those challenges that people are facing. And so it's a story of great energy and hope and excitement, but I don't want to gloss over the real challenges that people are facing when it comes to food prices and transportation prices. And so the U.S. wants to be a partner here to help Nigeria get through that and help Nigerian people get through that, again, towards this vision of shared prosperity for Nigerians, for Africans, and for the world.
So one of the reforms or reforming conversation going on now is how can Africa solve its problem by itself instead of waiting for developed countries, the United States? Because, I ponder myself, who helped the United States to get developed? Who contributed to it, So is there no way Africa can solve her problem, Nigeria solving her problem, with their resources by themselves?
I don't think that the United States has the solutions for Africa by any means, or for Nigeria. I believe we have to find those solutions together. And that will be partially because we are all, in a tough bind right now with this economy, but also because we need to solve the problems in a better way going forward than we did for ourselves. And so I agree with you, and this administration is really committed, to doing a digital transformation with Africa, for example, our new DTA program. And that's because, again, we don't have all the answers. We can't afford to only rely on the answers of the way that we developed. And we have to innovate more quickly than the ways that we did. And so I hope it can be a both-and solution. What I mean by that is both looking at the ways and the products and the services that did work in the United States and that did work in other countries around the world, but also not being bound by those pathways, right? I look to Nigerians for the answers to their own challenges, and I have complete trust that those answers are there, and I hope that we can continue to be a partner in helping those be realized.
And now we talk about Africa's solution to the world. What areas do you see this Africa's solution to the world? How can Africa, with what you have seen with Nigerians, what solutions do you see Nigeria or Africa as a whole presenting to the world to solve their problems?
Yes, it's a great question. The ones that we often talk about, especially here in Nigeria, are, right, like there's the fintech examples of, I can send money more easily often here, when I'm in Africa than I can back home. I can often get internet in certain cities, more quickly than I can elsewhere. But it's not just in these kind of future technologies. It's also in, I hope we see solutions for energy access. that come out of Nigeria that can be applied to the rest of the world. You know, you look at the diesel concentration, for example, here in Lagos, and if we can find a way to get, you know, all of those converted into clean sources, wow, you know, that's a solution that the rest of the world can use. If we can find solutions for, you know, the multiple healthcare challenges that are being faced here in Nigeria, that is something that will benefit the world. We see Nigerian doctors all over the world. I want to see Nigerian health solutions all over the world too.
So, I mean, IMF, World Bank, the US, they're applauding President Bola Tinubu with the ongoing reforms. But, you know, there's also the talk of making it wholesome so that it goes round and it has, you know, a more balanced effect. What do you see as the role of the government in dealing with these issues that the country has at this time?
No, it's a great question, and you know, I really want to affirm some of the really difficult policy decisions that this administration has been taking. And as I said, I want to recognize that it feels very challenging for everyday Nigerians. I don't take that lightly at all. And so, you know, I do want to acknowledge those are hard decisions that are hopefully setting Nigeria up for a much better macroeconomic state long term. And in the short term, we need to see two things. We need to see really good implementation and effective government implementation of these good policy ideas. We need to see that done in an accountable and transparent way. I think that is not, I'm not just saying that as another government, I'm saying that to give confidence to the markets, right? There are so many investors. I talk to American companies all the time that want to invest more in Nigeria. And so we hope that we can work with the government and those companies to find those short-term solutions for those challenges. And the second thing I would say is, you know, it's really about that democratic trust and rebuilding the trust between everyday Nigerians and their state. Because as you say, all these talents are here. We just need to you know, strengthen that social contract both in Lagos and around the country, that the state is serving the people and the people are investing in the state. And I know that isn't easy, but what I can tell you is there is very strong U.S. commitment to being a partner in that. President Biden and President Tinubu spoke and met at the G20 in India recently. And since then, we have had a series of, you know, not only high-level visitors coming from the U.S., but very, you know, specific experts. I work on our economic and trade relationship with Africa. I am here focused on how do you increase that two-way trade between Nigeria and the U.S. You know, we had colleagues here who are very senior, who are working on energy, who are working on intellectual property, who are working on diaspora businesses and diverse businesses and those trade missions. You know, Assistant Secretary Pyatt, Undersecretary Lago. And I hope that shows Nigerians that, you know, again, we don't have the answers necessarily, but we are here walking beside you, trying to have these technical conversations at a senior level to co-create a way forward.
So it's interesting that, you know, nations have been talking. President Bola Tinubu has been traveling. He went to India. The conversation between Nigeria and the United States. And you even talked about, you know, investors coming in. But there's still concerns about the issue of transparency, you know, in the process. Can the foreign investors trust the system to say, I don't have to see anybody to be able to get my papers or get my business registered? And then there's the FX issue, shortage in the country. Some foreign investors are already looking for how to get their profit out, and that seems difficult because of the FX shortage in Nigeria.
Yeah, and I would say for some companies it's about getting their capital out, but for some companies it's if they know they don't have to worry about getting their capital out, they're actually keep it in, which is almost an irony about the way that investment works, that when people feel that certain things are scarce, they want to hold on to it. But if they feel that, okay, no matter what, I can trust that if I ever needed it, I could get it, like a bank, then they actually don't make that run. So I think what you ask is such a good and complicated, and it's a nuanced question, so I'll try to be a little bit simple about it, but happy to follow up. One, you know, again, we have to do this together between the U.S. government and the Nigerian government, the U.S. people and the Nigerian people. And so what I would say is to government officials, be your best selves. We are here as government officials, myself included, to serve.
Here to serve the last words that we had there from Ms. Basu. And of course, issues coming up right there. Applause to the president and his cabinet on the reforms, but obviously more is yet to be done and seen. Top on the list is the FX issue, and we heard that pronouncement at the NESG summit yesterday. The president himself had promised that they will clear the backlog of FX. We're expecting about $10 billion in the nearest future, but of course the question is, where will they come from? Is it a loan? Do we have extra crude we are going to export? Do we have non-oil export that's ready for exports that's going to bring this extra FX? Well, we will delve into that at the commodities segment after this breather.